You ain't gotta say my name. You ain't gotta say my name. And you ain't gotta say a thing. Just know that I am here. And you ain't gotta say my name. You ain't gotta say my name. And you ain't gotta say a thing.
This is the Good Leader Podcast with your host, John Martinez. Today's guest, Nate Santos of Santos Bros Plumbing. Let's get into it.
What's up, Nate, man? Nice to meet you.
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. We've been chopping it up. So me and Nate, we're here to talk about some leadership stuff today. We're going to talk about his upbringing in Paso. We're going to talk our experience with some male role models in our life. And then we're getting into a little hot topic right now, the whole LA thing and maybe our perspective on that. And that'll be it. So shit, Nate, I don't know if you want to get into just like maybe your upbringing in Paso, and maybe some of your experiences growing up here that kind of shaped you into being like the man that you are today.
Sure, man, sure. So just to go a little bit more in depth with that, I was actually born in San Luis Obispo. Okay. I was born in SLO, and then grew up most of my childhood upbringing, like elementary school, and up to junior high down in the 5 Cities area, right there in Grover Beach. Okay. And then freshman year of high school, actually, we moved up to Atascadero. And
that was that A-Town?
A-Town, yeah, yes, sir. And we lived in A-Town for about 10 years, man. But when we got to Atascadero, man, I remember it was a little bit of a culture shock, you know. Down in South County, so it's a little bit more diverse. Mm-hmm. But when I got to Atascadero, man, it was, a lot less.
What was it like?
Less Mexicans.
Well, for real, so I think because I only know it from when I go through there now, so I don't see it. So it's just like you're the only brown one there.
Bro, I remember it was like I remember it was such a small amount. Like it tripped me out because it was just so different down in South County. There's just like Spanish-speaking Mexicans. There's like Mexicans that are like, Chicano, like generationally been there like second, third generation. There's a lot of Filipinos down there too. There's
island Mexicans.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, man. And then when I got up here to A-Town, man, I was like, I'd never seen this. I never said this before, dude. I've never seen so many different types of white people. There was like skaters, there was like goth punks, then you had like the Aggie country kids, and then there was like just such a variety, bro. It was just like, it tripped me out. Yeah. But I love it though, man. I've been up here in the North County area now for about a little over 20 years now. Mm-hmm. Actually 20 years this year, because I landed in Atascadero summer of 2005, and it's 2025.
Yes.
Now.
How was your experience there? Was it all good, or some good and bad, or it's like once you got there and got settled in?
Well, you know what, man? I think it's a little bit of everything. There was good experiences, there's bad experiences. I don't want to harp too much on like racial topics per se. However, the first time that I ever really did experience like racism towards me for being Mexican, being brown, was in Atascadero. Yeah, there was a little bit of that, and there was. I remember when we were in high school, we did bump heads a couple times with people that would like to say, make racial slurs and racial jokes or comments, and we ended up getting into little tussles here and there.
Yeah, and the only reason I even asked that is because that's how kind of my experience was in the Army. Because like when I went from Ventura County, which is like diverse, you know what I mean? There's a lot of Hispanics, but there's also black, there's white. It's more a mixed pot. But when I went to Georgia, it was the same thing, where it's kind of like, different. There's a little bit sometimes tension. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure. Yeah.
So that's why when you kind of said that, then I was like, oh, it's probably something that you encountered over there. You know?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that in high school, and then also, when you're a young male man, a young man in high school, there's that old saying, you're young, full of piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
So, you freaking feel like you can take on the world, and you want to prove yourself, and you want to take no lip from nobody. So that kind of adds a little fuel to that mix right there,
And were you and your brother around the same age? Like you guys went to school together, or you guys were kind of like a...
We're actually 4 years apart.
Yeah.
So growing up, it is a little bit of an age difference. So we did go to elementary school a little bit. I was like, older class, he was younger class, so we'd like walk to school together, and I was always very protective, so I'd take care of my siblings in school and stuff, and my cousins. And then after junior high, I didn't see him in school again. Yeah. Ever. So by the time that I graduated high school and I was a senior and I graduated, the following year he started high school as a freshman, so we were never in school together.
Yeah, that's cool being the oldest, because that's like me. I'm like the oldest, and I always tell people there's a different different, I think, pressure when you're the oldest, that because you feel, I think, the need to kind of do better, watch out more. I think you grow up faster when you're the oldest.
100%.
Most of the time, people, it's like, and when I see people that are the oldest and they're not like that, I kind of look at them.
It trips you out.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're not even like, I don't know. I just don't. That's to me how my mind always thought was like, okay, I have my younger sisters, my younger brothers. I gotta set the good example. Can't let anyone mess with them. I
Take
can't.
care of them.
Yeah. You know, I can't be no weenie. I gotta also, you know what I mean. And so that's why, you know, even my sisters always, I'll be like, oh, you're close to our mom. You guys have such a. I said, is it because I was the oldest? You know what I mean. So you tend to have a more, I think, a little bit closer relationship with your parents because you're more mature. You have to be.
Yeah, we grew up faster. I actually saw a little clip on social media today. I'll share it with you. It's a really good one. It's talking about. I've never really seen anyone really describe the situation of when you're the oldest brother, you have it the hardest. You know, you grow up, you miss out on your childhood a lot younger.
Yeah.
And I always remember that, like when we were kids growing up, and you start kind of like speaking up for yourself a little bit. I remember like at the dinner table, my dad was real big. My parents were real big at, family dinner table every day. We're having dinner, around, 5:30, 6 p.m. And we're all conversating about, what we did in school and stuff. And then on the weekends, we're working together with my dad. And as we're growing up, like I always took that step forward of like, I gotta work, because my dad always said, hey, la vida se gana trabajando, you gotta work hard. Yeah. So I always, was doing stuff, and I applied to get jobs, and as soon as you're like legally allowed to get a work permit from school, you're 14. Yeah. Most people won't want to hire you because you're so young. You're only allowed to work, I think, like 3 hours per day, or like only a few days a week. So I applied to many different little fast food places, but no one ever hired me. I didn't get my first job until the summer of after freshman year going into sophomore year. And just because, that's what I had instilled in my mind. Yeah. Like, you have to work. And then I kind of saw the difference of like my little brother growing up. Yeah. My dad like always like made me work, but then like my little brother didn't get it as hard. And I would always bring that up. Like, hey, well, you didn't tell him the same thing. Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to kind of hear that, because you hear some people when, and I always found that, my mom always told me, work hard too. She said if you buy something on your own, you appreciate it more. So like when I got my first car, like I think I paid half. It was like $1,000, and she paid a part of it. And I think it makes a big difference in how you end up becoming as an adult, because I think when you're told to like, hey, work hard, work for the things that you want, you tend to already like gives you I think a leg up in life in general. Because when you see people that aren't told that, or no one's ever told them that, everything is like, oh, this didn't work out for me. I'm, you know what I mean? Like in type of attitude,
victim mentality.
Yeah, kind of like a victim mentality. And I can't I can't relate to that shit, because I said my grandma, my mom, my uncles, everyone around me never let me talk to me like that. Everyone was always like, get up. I always remember this where I was talking to one of my friends. He was a little bit older than me. We were playing basketball or something, and I think I was like looking at my shoes or something, and my aunt comes up to me like after and says, mijo, don't ever put your head down when you're talking to someone. And I was like, damn, like I still remember that as a grown man telling but I think that type of stuff, you have to be told that type of stuff. And your dad telling you, I feel like that really determines having those strong male role models that tell you stuff like that. Because I don't think, not that women don't understand it, but sometimes they give us the love, and guys, we give each other more of a different, sometimes the truth.
Discipline.
Yeah, discipline. Yep. You tell each other, say sometimes like, hey, it's not about how you feel.
No, it ain't about how you feel, man. It's about like what you do.
Yeah,
and making things happen.
Oh yeah, man. So with the whole hard work thing, how did that get you ready for you having a business? Because I imagine like with you having a business and all that stuff, and I always see you doing your social media stuff and things, it keeps you busy. You know what I mean? How did that play into like getting you into that starting a business?
So because of being raised with that mindset of always working hard, so my dad, for those of you that may not know, there's a lot of folks that do know. My dad sings música ranchera estilo mariachi. Okay, cool. Like Vicente Fernandez.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Because you guys do stuff with horses too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's been singing that kind of music, man, like his whole life. That's his dream, So he liked music since he was a little boy. And, being over here in America, pursuit of the American dream and wanted to turn that into career, he started offering that service as entertainment for like quinceañeras, bautismos, weddings, that kind of thing. So he started singing like that for people's parties. And I remember I was in elementary school, but the youngest I remember being was in 4th grade.
Yeah.
And I would go with him, and he had the whole sound set up. So he offered a service of entertainment, saying, "Hey, we're going to provide you with our DJ services. Yeah. We're going to play music for your friends or family for your get together."
Yeah.
You know, and there's anything from small backyard parties to bigger like full on salons to like bigger ranch outdoor events, and where we'll play the DJ music for you. And my dad, you know, he's representing, you know, he's like, and I'll sing for you, you know, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever you want. Damn. And it'll be this kind of style music, right? And so at that age, bro, I'm only in 4th grade, mind you. And I haven't listened to the radio really like in years, but I'm sure it's still around, Wild 106. And so I used to listen to Wild 106 when I was a kid, you know, growing up here. And so my homework was listening to the music that's hot now and what's people are listening to in the radio in English. Yeah. So whenever we go to a party, if it's a quinceañera or like a young couple's wedding, and they want música en inglés, like, oh, no tiene música en inglés? Yeah. Boom, it was my turn to shine. I'm over there like playing whatever the English songs were popping at that time. Yeah. And being in 4th grade, bro, we were like, I remember Saturday morning, you know, having breakfast first thing, getting the cargo van loaded up with all the speakers and the mixers, the sound equipment. You know, by 10 a.m. we're done loading it up. All right, time to shower, depending on where the party's at, whether it's in 5 cities where we lived at the time, or maybe we had to go to Santa Maria. Yeah. Sometimes we went as far as Santa Barbara. Sometimes we come up to Paso. And then, you know, we dip out by like a little bit after midday, set up the equipment, set up the light show, and then we're playing music usually till about 10 p.m. at night. Yep. And then breaking down the equipment at the end of the party, loading it back up, getting back home. So I've been working like that since I was a little kid. Dude.
Yeah, we basically work all week, your regular job, do stuff on the weekends.
So been doing that. And so because my dad really instilled to work hard, and he was always like, you know, whatever you want, you gotta work for it so you earn it. So I have the same thing like you said. We appreciate it more when we work for it as opposed to just a handout.
Yeah, because then you kind of feel like, you know, I earned this. You can't. When you earn something, people can't take that away from you. Whether, you know, it gets, you know, you lose it or something, like, and you still earned it to get to that point. No one can take that from you. And also, I think it's like lessons learned like that. You know, what you're talking about, you know, the Monday through Friday, and then seeing your dad do that stuff on the weekends. I think it teaches you kind of having that good work ethic and stuff. And I think what I try to, you know, tell people, or at least from my experience, I learned the same thing from, you know, my dad, and then I also learned to kind of be where it's like especially with my daughters now, to be more like, okay, let me do that, but also let me kind of like do some of the things I wish he would have done with me. You know what I mean? Be a little bit more soft sometimes with them. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Kind of like, I always say it's almost like a football game. Like your dad and your mom are going to take it so far, and then you have to pick it up at some point, and they should do better. You know what I mean? Do better than them.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of like what we're supposed to do, because that's how you kind of, you know, get what do people call it, like generational wealth? It's like it has to start somewhere, you know what I mean?
100%. So our parents took the first, like my parents, you know, I'm first generation Mexican American born here. So my parents took that first step by coming to this country, you know, being immigrants and getting here, and they already took that biggest leap. They're here, they start a family. I'm born here, you know, thankfully. You know, I thank God for that. Yeah. I grew up here. I learned the English language. I go to school here. I have all the opportunities, man. Yeah. You know, and I think we have to do something with it. Not enough people take this opportunity and do something with it. A lot of it take it for granted. Like, they're just here, and, you know, they have a sense of entitlement, and they don't want to put in the work to get what they want. They want a, you know, government handout or what have you.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I mean, that kind of, I guess, leads us into the topic, I guess, with the stuff like, you know, with the whole LA thing, and that's kind of the way I see it. It's like there's ways to go about things to make change, and there's ways to go about things to just, you know, to basically make us look stupid, kind of thing, right? You know what I mean? And I always tell people, for myself, you know, I learned a long time ago that if you want to make actual change, then you need to put yourself in a position to make change, like starting a business, starting a podcast, doing positive type of things that can't be taken away from you. And I think if people were telling other people differently, like, hey, you know, I know, fucking stealing property, selling drugs, you know, all this other shit, like, all that stuff you're gonna lose it. It's all temporary. It's all temporary gain. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where if you earn it, or it goes back to talking about us earning stuff. If you earn it, that can't necessarily be taken away from you in that way. You know what I mean? And because you earned it, you know how to get back to it. You know what I mean? Or take your losses and then come back to fix it. And that's what I think is kind of confusing to me about what I see with a lot of our, with our culture right now, because to me, we're not like that. We've always been harder workers. We've always learned how to we carry ourselves a certain way. And it's like, and when we kind of resort to just being like, we're just gonna lie. I saw one guy said he's all the language of the unheard is violence. And it's like, no, when you're unheard, it's because you have to also get that seat at the table, and you don't get that seat at the table by committing violence. You know what I mean? This is not the Wild West where you just can shoot your way into, a place and say, I'm taking it over. It doesn't work like that.
It almost goes back to what you say, as far as earning what you get.
Yeah.
You have to earn your voice.
Yeah.
Like you setting this up.
Yeah.
And having the Good Leader podcast, you put in the work to be able to make this happen.
Yeah.
And you're starting to, you're barely getting started, right?
Yeah.
So you're putting in the work for it. Like Miguel's putting in the work by having the studio and creating the platform.
Yep.
And he's going out there putting in the work, meeting people, shaking people's hands, in order to make it happen. Mm-hmm. You don't just get to just say what you want randomly if you're not of someone of value that has substance to speak about. You have to be bringing something to the table.
And the reason I think even, like you mentioned with Miguel with this podcast, I think the reason I felt the need even to start a podcast like this is because I like all kinds of podcasts. They're entertaining. There's Joe Rogan, there's Sean Ryan, there's good podcasts. But I also see other podcasts where it's like, it could be No Jumper or Adam 22 or whatever, where they lean into the dramatic, and they make dudes crash on each other for no reason. You know what I mean? They kind of they set them up to hey, tell me all your crimes you committed. Hey, do all this, and I'm kind of looking at
snitching.
Snitching on themselves.
Yeah,
they stir up the drama, and I'm looking at it well, what does our culture want to be known for? Known for being business owners, people that we're taking care of our families. We're trying to, we're not perfect, obviously, but we're trying to, make things better and create, a better situation. Or do we want to be known for I'm the toughest dude on my block? You know what I mean? I beat up little like that.
Bro, I think that being known as the toughest dude on your block, we're that was cool.
In the 90s, maybe
15, 20 years ago, bro. Maybe like you mentioned earlier, some of the OGs 30, 40 years ago was the coolest thing, bro. But we're growing up, we're evolving, bro. Mm-hmm. I think what's really cool now is having some older homies that are saying, hey, you know what? Yeah. I did that. You know what? I've realigned. I'm taking care of my family. I've started this business. Yep. I'm putting my family in a better place. Hey, you know what? Because I've put in the work to learn this and gain this knowledge. Yeah. This is how you do it. You want to get your business license. You want to get your insurance. Yep. You want to get all those things.
And that's what I liked about hearing you and your brother talk about that stuff, because I heard you guys talk about some of the business stuff, networking, and I think people really underestimate networking. How did we meet Miguel? I think I can't remember how we started talking. We messaged and then ended up coming here and then meeting you and then meeting other different people. People don't, it all starts kind of with a flicker or a flame or a spark or something, right? Something, and that's kind of to me what I kind of see, all this progressing to. But when I see the things kind of on the news, and sometimes it's kind of your people kind of playing to the clown show. You know what I mean?
Bro. Yeah, no. I agree. It's playing to the clown show, and I think, bro, by what's going on right now in LA, you touched the subject. I think we're proving what the president said when he first ran for office back in 2016, that people got so mad. What do you say? You're sending the worst. Yeah. These are criminals. Da, da, da. And so much raza, including myself, upset and didn't want to hear it. What the hell? Who the hell is this guy saying that? I'm a hard worker. I'm a good person. This and that. Yeah. But time has gone by, and this last election, there was a high swing of how many Hispanics, young Mexicans, decided to vote for him, right? Yeah. And I think right now more than ever, we decided to go that way because we've seen how messed up the previous administration was. We California, I think the reason we started talking, because I saw your post, your hat said,
"Make California great again."
Make California great again. I was like, "Fuck yeah, bro! Let's make California great again, bro. We had enough of this freaking clown show, bro." Yeah. The governor is a clown, bro.
Also people don't realize that and I have people that I people that I talk to that are more liberal, more Democrat. But this is my thing. I always tell them, I said, I can listen to why you don't agree with me and not be upset and still be your friend. But when they can't but when you can't listen to what I'm saying and still be my friend, I said, who's the more mature one? That shows a lack of maturity. Because I said, because you should never want to have a circle of people around you that are just agreeing with you all the time.
Chamber.
Oh yeah, we're all right. Like that doesn't make any sense. You want good people around you that when you're not, you know, maybe your heart's in the right place, but your mind isn't, are correcting you. You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of see. And it's the whole, you know, that's kind of really where I started putting that out. It's funny because people, one of the guys I was talking to this week, he said that he's like, yeah, you know, when you put some of the stuff you say, like I like it because it takes like you know, bravery to kind of say things that everyone is gonna kind of, which I see when I say certain things, and I don't try to say it I'm not really trying to say it in a way to just like agitate people. It's more like, are you saying fact or opinion? You know what I mean? Like, is it like what's it like? If you're gonna protest for people getting deported, do you even know the ones that are getting deported? Have you looked into what they've actually done? And if you look into it, does it make sense to even do that? You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't want to take that extra time to do it. They just want to go. They're like crash test dummies. Someone tells them to do something, then they do it. You know what I mean?
They're more about their feelings and, you know, the actual reality. Like they feel offended, they feel upset because Orange Man bad.
And you kind of saying before that with the whole Trump thing, what kind of changed you from kind of like being not liking what he said to like swinging to the more conservative? Like what was the kind of maybe changing point for you where you're like, you know what, this doesn't make sense no more?
So I when he first started running for office back in 2016, like I said, when he first started making those statements, I was like, man, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? I didn't like him, but you know, by the time he actually progressed and got into office, I liked what he was saying, talking about draining the swamp. Yeah. You know, the media didn't like him. Conservatism, I think, is where it's at. I think the pendulum is swinging left about, you know, certain topics has been too overcorrected with kind of what Democratic or the liberal side of you know, ideologies are at. I think it's gone too far. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some of these people out there that, I'm just gonna say it, bro. These freaking LGBT alphabet community people dressed up half naked, bro, dancing in front of little kids, bro. That shit ain't right. Yeah. And I'm not down with that shit, dude. It's like that, like who the fuck in the right mind thinks that shit's okay? Yeah, no, I get what you. Yeah, and it's because, and I always try to tell people like this. Everyone's entitled. You're entitled to the way you feel or want to live your life, but you can't force it upon other people. Yeah. And I think as grown men, we know that. Like, hey, whatever you do in your free time, that's cool, bro. But I don't have to be involved in it, and I don't want to see it. That's your personal business, bro. Yeah, it's like, you don't gotta flaunt that shit to the world.
Keep that P Diddy shit to yourself. You know?
Whatever you do with your baby, dog, that's your business, bro. I have no interest.
No, that's very interesting to kind of see what kind of, you know, shifted you know over, because I've always been pretty conservative, and I think that's because I was in the military and, you know, the law enforcement side, and but it was always more based off of like my, you know, my knowledge of kind of like seeing things that I saw, you know, like we were talking about before. One of the last cases that I worked on was a legal immigrant robbing other illegal immigrants. You know what I mean? So I think people sometimes confuse like, hey, we're the same color skin, so it means that we're all doing the same thing, and it's like we're not. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to see the, you know, the character in people and what they're doing, not just what they're like. I should just align with you just because. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. And I think a lot of the, you know, with California shifting the way it is, because to me, I would say we are a Republican state. What's gonna happen is the only holdouts are, you have LA, San Francisco, you know, the cities. But once those cities are gone, and I feel like this big, weekend event kind of put the nail in the coffin for them. It opens the door for other leadership for guys that are, for guys like me and you and other people that want to make change and also are open to listening to be, you know, kind of, you know, meeting in a middle place, because they'll say, hey, you know, like, you can kind of listen to what someone's saying and then take your, you know, how you think about something and to come to some common ground. And I think that's what it's going to do. It's going to open up the leadership, because I think we've been listening to a lot of these, you know, like Gavin Newsom, Mayor Bass, all these other people. If you look at them, it's like they're career politicians. Like guys like me, we're not career politicians. We're guys that, you know, we've worked our way up. You know, you're trying to do certain things. So when we're talking about something, it's coming from a place of, hey, we're actually, you know, boots on the ground doing it, not just kind of just, hey, I'm just in the office, you know, spewing all this nonsense and hoping someone believes me.
Yep. So 100%. I said earlier when we were talking, bro. LA, bro, San Francisco, bro, they're cesspools, man.
Yeah.
San Francisco, I heard people talking about there's an app where you're walking down the street and there's freaking
all the shit.
feces, bro. There's feces on the ground. So like, oh, there's a freaking dookie right here. So let me put it on the app so someone else knows that if you're walking here, they're not to step on the freaking dookie. But like, how retarded is that?
Yeah.
That someone, came up with an app because there was a demand for people to know that there's freaking shit there on the road. And instead of cleaning up the streets and not allowing that nonsense to take place, there's an app that lets people know not to walk on that road because there's freaking on that sidewalk because there's shit right there.
Well, it's kind of what I was tripping out with LA because they just had the fires and it's like, okay, so that's millions and millions of dollars in damages, probably more. You know what I mean?
Because they wanted to save a little fish, bro. Like it's freaking stupid.
Yeah, and then now you're gonna have stuff from the from the riots or the protesting, the peaceful protesting, and now that's more damage, and it's all to their own community. You know what I mean? Because I live in the next county over to LA. And there's a lot of times where it's like, to me, Ventura County, we move a certain way and we can tell when people are from LA County. It's like, when you don't value where you live, you don't value other people's stuff either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's because it kind of starts at home. And that's me where it kind of comes back to the whole concept of the Good Leader podcast with dealing with men. It's like, I feel like the responsibility kind of falls not just to men, but for men to take the lead and kind of say, hey, shit can't be like this no more. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. I think it does fall under because it's a man's job to lead and lead by example for us to create a better world around us.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman that I listen to. His podcast is a PVD podcast. I don't know if you know Patrick Bet-David.
I don't think I've heard that guy yet.
I'm sure you would like it just based off our conversation that we're talking about. But he was having a conversation with an entrepreneur, and he was this dude's a Mexicano living in LA, and this dude's like a successful business entrepreneur. I don't know how many multi-millions, lives in Bel Air, gated community, bro. Gated community, and his house is still getting broke into. His little girl, I think, FaceTimed him. They're like, oh dad, someone broke in.
Yeah.
And then like the person's getting into the house, and then like the house cleaner saw him and yelled, so the dude freaked out and like ran out the window. Yeah. And so now with this dude, he already lives in a high-end gated community, and he also hired 24-hour security.
Yeah.
Bro, that's like some freaking third world problem, bro. Like, really? It's like, is that bad? So PBD was just like, dude, if you're gonna stay in California, you have to get involved in politics. Yeah. If we want things to get adjusted, we have to, because we can't have this Karen Bass lady, this new scum clown out there when he shut freaking California down. Said you can't go out there, you can't go to the stores, you can't, mom and pop shops closed down, and this freaking prick is over there having wine tasting open invite with all his ritzy friends. Like, come on, bro, people fucking wake up. Really?
I was actually laughing at this last video when he was like, and this is I think twisted this, and then I'm saying this because I want people to understand how, if you don't look into something, how the media will twist words, right? I saw Newsom say where he's like, come arrest me, Trump, or whoever he was saying, trying to act like a tough guy, but it always comes off disingenuous to me. And then I saw the news ask Trump, would you arrest Newsom? And he was like, I kind of like, no one's above the law, I guess, kind of like answering the question. And then I saw the news turn around, right? Like, I think it might have been CNN or one of those broadcasters say, oh, Trump said he's gonna arrest Newsom. And that's how much they twist it around. But people that don't always, if you think you know everything, you don't allow more knowledge to pour into you. So, if I see something, I usually try to research, like, well, where did this stem from, this and that. And I think a lot of people will just see the thing, look, Trump said he's gonna arrest Newsom, what a dictator. You know what I mean? And that's not what happened. They're quick to like make a assumption about something without looking at all the facts. And that's always my like kind of where I don't understand a lot about with that side of the party. It's like have some facts and not like you said, less feelings, have some logical facts, come up with some good ideas. And I actually think that, if they did that, we would be able to work with the people a little bit more moderate, like you said, not so far left, and say, hey, and make California great again, and like say, hey, everyone can coexist. It just needs to be some boundaries, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, that's all it is, bro. Like I said earlier, man, California, by a lot of the rest of the nation, bro. When I meet people, because I've done a little bit of traveling this year, met people in other states, they're like, "Oh man, California." Yeah,
like, they have this weird like. I'm like,
like, oh, bro. People outside of California view California as a cesspool. The way that you and I are talking about LA or San Francisco, like we know that here in the middle, like where we're at, it's nice. Yeah, we're not dealing with all that nonsense, but yet it's so bad from LA and San Francisco. It's starting to seep its way out here because growing up here, bro, there wasn't such a big homeless, transient, whatever you want to call them, population.
When the lights go out here, it's like zombies are coming out the river bottom.
The freaks come out at night, man. The freaks come out at night, man. These people are,
and that kind of trips me. It does trip me out. Like, and I think it's because when you tolerate something, and this is people where I already know, like whether it's a comment, like, oh, the homeless is that, and I'm telling them from my law enforcement experience, there's 3 types of homeless people. There's people that are losing mentally ill, that they need actually help. You know what I mean? Yep. There's people that are losing on drugs that, you know, they need that if they don't want to get off drugs, then they just need to go to jail because they need either rehab. And I know that from, you know, my friend Eric, who's he's you know, he went through his own struggles, but he helps the homeless now, and he tells me that they need structure. It's not just a like, hey, you can just, you know, hopefully you get off drugs one day and let you exist. And there's people that don't want any sense of responsibility, and I feel like you can't just allow that to be. You know what I mean? Like the people that need mental help, they need help. But if you don't want to get off drugs, cool, then get arrested. And if you don't want any responsibility, cool, but you're not gonna just like
be a leech off the system, dude.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Like, and I think the more you tolerate it, the more it becomes okay. And I think that's because I see some of the ones kind of you know, around here, I'm like, these are some young kids, bro. They're like 20s in their 20s, and I'm like, you're already done with life. You're like 24 years old.
It's sad, bro. It's like, freaking sad. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't get it. You know, I think again, it just comes back to, you know, my big thing is I think people, it's like purpose, you know, lacking purpose. So what are they here to?
I think purpose, and back to your title of your podcast, bro. A good leader, you know, a good mentor to kind of help guide them and, you know, help figure them out.
Yeah.
What they're good at, so that they can find some sense of purpose to something that'll kind of give them some motivation to do something, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, man, and it's an excessive topic, man. Like from the amount of transients that there are now to, you know, the fires and how out of control they were, and how there was no water in the freaking pipelines, like to the drug going on. Yeah, it's just so many different things, dude.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of challenges. I think as a country we're facing, as a state, and as, you know, man, and that's why I kind of think I want to say it's been a good and a bad thing. I think things getting so bad made a lot of guys like me and you kind of like, where I never really liked politics, honestly. I was never really saw myself as being involved in politics, but at a certain point it's like, okay, enough is enough. Like, none of this shit makes sense. Like, there needs to be a different voice or a different opinion or something. This can't be like, this is normal. And I think that's what there was almost trying to normalize things that shouldn't be normalized.
Yep.
And I don't know, it's different, but it's just kind of just like that. And I think, you know, I always think the root cause of it is, for at least for young men, and I think young women too, is like purpose, and then, you know, selfless service. I think people assume that the more they do for themselves, the better they're gonna feel. But I've never seen that. What I've seen is that the more you do for others, that makes you feel more, that brings you back to your purpose. Oh, I'm here to help people. I'm here to do certain things. That's why even, you know, like everything I've been hearing from, you know, like what, you know, Miguel's, this platform, to you helping out on, you know, other people's podcasts, that's all, you know, selfless service. That's things you don't have to do, but you do it, you know what I mean, to give other people like a voice and a thing. And that makes a big difference, because now it's like, you know, light reflects light.
Totally. And it's helping each other out, man. And it's a win-win. In this podcast example, you know, Miguel's out there meeting people, shaking hands. He's created a platform, coming onto my show. They're business owners. They have their group of people that right now everyone's on social media, online in one way or another, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. You know, Miguel has his group of friends and followers. That person he brings on, yourself or myself, we collaborate, we have a conversation, we both share it on our individual platforms.
Everyone's networking.
Each other's friends see it, and then we both grow.
Yeah.
And we keep doing that, and it's a win-win. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that was even for me, you know, especially coming out of the law enforcement space. That's what I try to get, you know, a lot of other law enforcement guys to kind of understand. Like, if you really, because law enforcement is going through their own growing pains, and the way that I see it is kind of like, you can't allow yourself to get jaded by only being around other people that do law enforcement shit all the time. You know what I mean? Like if all you're doing is like, if I'm just constantly being around other guys and all we're doing is talking about, you know, police stuff, like that doesn't help you grow as a person. Like you have to reach out to other people and understand different, you know, different things, because that makes you a more well-rounded individual, not just a better cop. You know what I mean? Type of thing. And that's one of the things I that's kind of that's why sometimes people are like, oh, you're going to just talk about cop stuff, or you're going to talk about men stuff. It's like, no, I'm just talking about things that I think will help people in general. And that's, leaves a more room, you know what I mean? To like talk about all kinds of different topics. So cool. That's cool. That's a good conversation, man.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Chopping it up.
Yep. And I think, for that, we'll kind of wrap it up. Are you a dad?
I'm not a dad yet, man. You know, hopefully one day though.
I know with the Father's Day coming up, I was gonna. I don't know. That's what it's one of my plans is to try to interview my dad too for Father's Day.
Oh, that'd be a good one, man.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. But I was gonna ask you about that because, you know, you were talking about your dad and stuff like that. But I mean, I think that's definitely, you know, those things that he probably did with you are probably gonna you know, definitely help you in your experiences like that. You know,
100%.
I think it's I can't remember what the statistics are, but it's like, you know, it's like a 80% chance. I think if your dad's not around, the higher of going to like jail or getting in trouble.
No,
and
100%.
You know, yeah. So when people sometimes are like, you know, man, we don't need men, this and that, and it's not obviously it's not all women or anything like that, but I'm just like, you're stupid.
No, that's part of bro. That's part of the whole liberal nonsense, man.
Yeah.
That, you know, that statement being made and people thinking that when they make that statement, it's a powerful statement. It's an ignorant statement. Because we need each other.
Yeah.
You know, God created man and woman for a reason.
I've told girls that before. I said, never would I say I don't need a woman. You know, I say my mom's, you know, my mom, my sisters, my daughters. I said, never would I say that. So as a guy, when people say that, it's like disrespect to the man. You know what I mean? It's almost kind of undervalue, you know, men, and it doesn't have to be that. You don't. This dude Dale Comstock, he said it the best, and I don't even know if it's his quote, but he said it.
What's the dude's name?
Dale Comstock. He was like a Delta Force operator guy.
Okay.
But he says this thing. So some people think by blowing out your candle will make them shine brighter.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't work like that.
No, I don't, man. You put two candlesticks together, man. And
you start a fire.
Yeah, you start a fire, man. That's what we want, bro. That's the whole like win-win thing that I was telling you about, man. No, I don't have any kids right now. You know, hopefully, you know, one day I definitely do want to have a big family and I want to do some good, cool things with my kids. Yeah. You know, and I'm working hard to put myself in a better financial situation so that, you know, they won't have to struggle with some of the stuff that I struggled with growing up. And when you asked me earlier, if I have a mentor, you know, definitely one of the biggest influences in my life as a mentor that is the man that raised me is my dad, man. Because he's the one that taught me to work hard. Oh yeah. You know, he's the one that told me to have dreams, to have aspirations, and to go after it, and to not take no for an answer. When you want something, if you work hard and put in the effort, you can get it.
When you're talking about the parties, I started thinking about the machetes, like, you know, the dudes like
like those danzas that It's funny, my dad did that.
You know what? I remember that. The only reason I remember that because they did that to at my elementary school one time. The dude, he cut himself a little bit. So as a kid, it just like ingrained itself in my mind. They're like, oh shit.
Yeah. That's not the intention. It's a danza, and they scrape it in the concrete and they shrink, and then it's like there's steps, and they're hitting them shit
underneath their legs. I remember that.
My dad taught us. We messed around, like we'd use like broomsticks or something, and it'd be like boom practice, and we do it, and it was lightweight when we were kids. Yeah, and then we actually did it with machetes. He'd be like ching, and he was like, slow. Así era, primero acá, abajo, and you know,
that'd be tight. I think we should do like it's funny because when he said that, I was watching the podcast he had done with Miguel, and I was like, I said, oh, that'd be tight to do like some kind of brand pics with that, like the horse in the background, like with the machete or something.
Oh, let's do it, bro. Let's
fucking fireworks.
Fucking
fire and shit in the background.
And horses. Hey, man, that's guys being guys right there.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I think that's a good podcast episode, and I'll give Miguel, keep him busy with the chopping it up.
Right? That'll give him something to do.
Okay, this has been the good. Want to take us out, Miguel?
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in to the Good Leader Podcast. Big thanks to our guest, Nate Santos, from Santos Bros Plumbing. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Oh, yeah, it was getting hot in here.